Over the last few weeks, I've been making an absolute ton of videos talking about Bitcoin and the broad market and what's happening from a fundamental perspective. And what I've not done much is kind of give you those individual videos on Solana and Pepe and many more like I used to. And so what I wanted to do today was kind of switch things up a little bit and make a full video going over a bunch of different altcoins like Solana, XRP, and many more. And so that's what we're going to do today. I hope you guys do enjoy it. This is something that I'd like to do maybe once or twice a week. So please do let me know down in the comments below, and feel free to check the description, as I am going to leave some timestamps down there just in case you want to skip around. And so with that said, look, let's not waste any more time at all, and let's get straight into it. Now, looking at the altcoin market over the last month, things have been pretty rough, right? Just about every major crypto except for a handful are down. We got Pepe down, we got Beam, Sand, Crow, AR, Whiff. I mean, nothing's being spared. Altcoins down. Meme coins, micro caps, layer 1s, layer 2s, even AI tokens are looking pretty rough here on the last month or so. A lot of red. But what we can see, of course, is that as we do get closer, of course, to more of the more modern day, we can see things starting to get a little bit better, right? We are starting to see over the last week, and especially over the last couple of days, the market is trying to give us some sort of reversal. It is trying to give us a little bit of bullish relief, and that's, of course, what I want to kind of track and zoom in on today. Now, what I want to do before we do look specifically at Solana, Ethereum, XRP, ADA, and much more, I actually want to jump into Total 2. Of course, Total 2 is the total market cap of all altcoins, and I think it's extremely important to get a good understanding of what's happening from that broad perspective, because it'll make what we're seeing on the micro perspective make more sense, if that makes sense. So what we can see here, of course, is that Total 2, again, which is just simply the total market cap of all altcoins, recently had a fake out to the upside of a descending channel. Now, this isn't the craziest thing we've ever seen before. We have seen things like this, but it is a rather uncommon event. The fact that we got a fake out to the downside here, and the fact that we got a fake out to the upside here, means that we are in whale games. I've told you all for months, not months, but weeks, that look, we're in a high manipulation zone. We're in a period where you're going to see the craziest things that you can think of, and people are going to get liquidated all over the place, which is the reason why I've not been doing high leverage trades on altcoins or anything like that, because again, quite simply, it's just not the time, not when we have things like this happening. But since we did see those two fake outs, those do somewhat cancel each other out. Of course, you do know that when you fake out in one direction, it becomes very likely that you break out in the opposite direction. But if that opposite side breakout turns into a fake out as well, they somewhat just cancel each other out, and then you end up back in just your macro general structure. Some people do believe that it is important to then go and expand your structure outwards, because you are creating something more macro, but I've not seen enough evidence that that is something that is beneficial or makes much of a difference, so I am just going to kind of stick to the fact that we are in this descending channel right now. Well, what we can see is that the total market cap of altcoins made its way all the way down to the 50% threshold, and we actually did see that 50% threshold hold up very well back on Thursday. Now, funny enough, I did tell people that we may start to see the altcoin rally, or the altcoins start trying to find some bullish relief off of this level, because this 50% threshold is so important. Matter of fact, if I head back over my Twitter, what we can see is that let's zoom down, let's go back to January 9th. As you can see here, I was telling people, right, look, here we go. So I said, do you see what I mean? The bulls are finally stepping in now that liquidations are drying up and we've reached the 50% level. These are great signs. Still not 100% convinced the dip is over, but I'm convinced that if it's not over, we're getting very close. IBCA. And so what I was doing was I was dollar cost averaging and buying some altcoins as we were seeing this move towards this 50% threshold, because we have seen a history of the altcoin market trying to rally off of this level. Now, feel free to go follow me on Twitter if you do want, of course, at Tyler Crypto Talk. I post 6 or 7 times a day over there. Link is in the description below. And so with that now, what we can see is that the altcoin market's in a bit of a balance. We hit a major support level, and now we're trying to decide, do we go for another run upwards? Do we get rejected here? I mean, what happens? One thing that I am assuming right now, and I want to officially say this to be true, what we can see is that it looks to me as if the altcoin market is back at the 75% level. Yes, it is. So the altcoin market is back at the 75% level, which is simply just 25% of this 50% right here. So if you cut this channel in half, then you cut that in half, it's a 75% level. And what you can see here is we're at this major zone of resistance, and it looks like the altcoin market is trying to decide, do we get rejected off of here and head back down? Do we break this and head back up? It's really trying to make a massive decision right here. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know what's going to happen. I don't, guys, but I am very much so watching this closely to see how it does play out. Now, having this in mind and knowing that the altcoin market is trying to make a major decision at this key resistance zone right now, I'm sure that if we start looking at some of these other cryptos, we're going to see them also start trying to make those decisions as well. So if we do head out first and foremost to Ethereum, what we can see here is that, yes, where what we can see is that ETH, quite frankly, let's zoom out a little bit and let's get rid of our Elliott waves for now. ETH is trying to decide whether it's going to hold support or not. What you can see is that ETH's price came all the way back down to this little trend line right here, this one right here, and it's trying to decide if it's going to hold it. If ETH's price is able to actually hold this, look, and I actually want to go ahead and get this drawn in now that we have that secondary point of resistance right there. What you can see is that ETH, again, yeah, if it's able to hold it, it's probably going to try to work its way back to the top side, and who knows, maybe we got the bullish pennant, right? Maybe we do have the breakout, maybe we have the bullish pennant, we use this to start continuing upwards and try to break through that red box. That's very possible. But if ETH's price does lose this key level of support right around $3,169, I would full scale expect this thing to fall anywhere from 2,900 to back around, 2,900 back towards 2,700, somewhere in the bottom side of this zone, because you got to remember we do have this macro structure for ETH. ETH has been riding the support level for, since June of 2022, quite frankly. And it's not going to shock me whatsoever if we do get rejected here again and we do get, kind of pushed back towards that key zone of support to make another run for it. So ETH is one of those ones where it definitely is in a bit of a pickle, is in a bit of a hard spot. And if I was going to be doing some buying on ETH, right, if I was going to be buying some ETH, what I would do is I would do my purchases here at the bottom of this bullish pennant, and I would set in a stop loss below this previous low back here. So I'd be setting a stop loss somewhere around $3,000 or so. That is a bit of a tight stop loss, obviously, because 3,000 is a magnet, now that I think about it. So maybe I'd even go as low as like 2,940 or something like that. Just quite simply meaning that if ETH does lose support here and head back down, if it doesn't bounce off the $3,000 level and it continues lower, you're probably looking at some more macro losses towards the downside, and I would want to exit that position. Now, if it's just a long-term dollar cost average, I wouldn't be setting a stop loss by any means. I'll just do a little bit of purchasing here. If it goes up, great, you won. If it goes down, add a little bit more to that position. If it goes down, add a little bit more to that position, buying in around 2,940, buying a little bit more around 2,750, and expecting that some support should be tried to be held there before trying to reverse to the upside, and then obviously more macro decisions to be made. I wouldn't be doing any big purchases on Ethereum personally, just because quite frankly, it is in a spot to where if these three levels are lost, it really could get worse from there because it is in an ascending support level. And what I've noticed about ascending support levels is they're very fickle. For example, if ETH's price does lose support right here, it's going to likely head back down to 2,200, and if it loses 2,200, there actually isn't any support until $1,500. And knowing that there is an opportunity for some big drop like that, in which ETH's price technically could fall anywhere from 30 to 40%, although I don't think that's going to happen, it is a card that's on the table, and you got to respect it. So I wouldn't be doing any huge purchases on ETH right now, but definitely some small, tiny ones in anticipation of a possible bounce or reversal upwards. I definitely think isn't the worst idea ever. So ETH is in an okay area. We look at the 4-hour RSI. Still sub 50, which is a good thing. We look at the daily RSI. We are seeing a bounce off a key support level. It is sub 50 as well. So all of those things are good. And I guess if we do kind of pick up on the Elliott's waves here, on the dailies, we are still in structure to see another pull to the downside. And on the 4-hour, we're also in structure to see a pull to the downside. So you just do need to consider that. We may continue lower here for ETH. Things might capitulate before they get better. And so if you are doing some purchasing, I would do small purchases with a stop loss or small purchases with expectations of buying more and lowering that dollar cost average as time does go on. Now, looking at Solana next up, what we can see is that Solana is also in a very similar situation to Total 2. Solana's price did come in. Let me just get rid of all this for a second. You know what? I actually want to just for now, let me just go ahead and do this because this is a lot going on and I kind of want to break this down a little bit more simply for you guys. So what we can see here obviously is that Solana's price is still in a descending structure, but it did just kind of more majorly disrespect that structure. You can see we're in this descending channel. We were expecting it a ton prior to that dump on December 17th and towards the 20th. We saw Solana's price fall outside of the structure. This is a point in which we did start doing some accumulating. You all know I was buying some Solana right around $181 to $180 prior to seeing this push back up towards the upside. We then saw Solana re-enter back into that descending channel, giving us a breakout to the upside afterwards, which also turned into a fake out. So again, very similarly to Total 2, we saw the breakout to the upside right here, or the fake out to the downside. We saw the fake out to the upside, invalidating each other, re-entering you back into the structure. And what you can see here is that Solana at this given point is now just trying to simply decide, is it going to be able to hold that support around that 50% threshold, or are we going for another move downwards? And I am at a part, kind of at a point right now where it's like, if Solana does go down, I will be doing some purchasing. And if it does break to the upside, I'm not doing anything, but I'm not going to be doing any buying on Solana right now. I did a little bit of dollar cost averaging a couple days ago just because we were seeing that big red day back here. But at this given point, while Solana is trying to make this decision, it's just not the most appealing buying opportunity for me unless it's a long-term purchase. I have a lot of Solana. My average cost on Solana is $31. So I'm not feeling forced or rushed to be doing any buying right here. If we do put on our Elliot's waves, of course, there is still an opportunity that we could get some other move to the upside, right? That B wave is still valid. If we do look back on a more daily structure, our C wave does seem to be complete. So we could definitely start to see Solana's price try to find some stabilization and try to move upwards at some point here. And I think that would be fantastic. But again, I'm not in a rush to be buying any Solana at this point because I have done a good bit of buying, back here, some buying in here, some buying there. So I don't feel forced to do any purchasing right here. From an RSI perspective, we can see here that we have been actually getting some pretty solid signs. On the 4 hour, the RSI is starting to kind of reverse upwards, kind of implying that although we are in a downtrend, that trend is losing strength. And so I would expect us to maybe at some point try to get a move upwards here for Solana, especially when we do look at something like the dailies. What you can see here is that our daily also got a beautiful reset back towards that little 39 level, which is considered a weak zone in which we could start to see Solana opening up all this room to the upside to make some move upwards. So my general thesis on Solana is that it is going to find a bottom, and it's going to try to find that bottom to push upwards. I think we're going to see Solana retrace $200, $230 sooner than later. But like I said, I'm just not in a rush to buy. I did a lot of buying in here. I did a good bit of buying a couple days ago. So I'm just kind of waiting for it to happen. If we go lower, if we fall back to around $170 to $165 in this green zone, I will start doing some buying. But again, right now, not in a huge rush to be buying some Solana. Very happy with the bag that I do have right now. And I will tell you guys before we do move over into XRP next, that if you guys do want to start doing some trading on some altcoins and stuff yourself today, you can feel free to check out that BTCC link down below. Guys, if you do use my BTCC link down below, they're going to give you a 10% bonus on all first-time deposits between $500 and $100,000. That means if you deposit $10,000, for example, they're going to give you $1,000 on the spot to start trading with, and whatever profit you make from that $1,000 is yours, no strings attached. You can withdraw it, reinvest it, do whatever you want. This platform's been around for 13 years and they're getting better every single day. And so if you do want to go check it out, feel free to use that link down below and trade at your own risk. Now, moving into XRP next. Where are you at? Let's see. Let's get XRP on the board. What we can see is that XRP's actually just recently gotten a beautiful breakout, and it's currently in the state of a back test. What you can see is that XRP was in this descending pennant, or this bullish pennant right here. We had that beautiful break to the upside. We had the bullish pennant. We had 3 establishments of support, 3 establishments of resistance. XRP doesn't care, baby. Goes in, gives us the breakout, and is currently in a back test. This is actually a fantastic move from XRP, and I am doing some purchasing on XRP today just to kind of go for it a little bit. There is still the risk because we have been seeing so many fake outs recently that we do see XRP's price pull back within this triangle here, right back within this pennant, and that obviously wouldn't be very good. That would actually be rather bad in the grand scheme of things, and I'm not going to pretend like it's an impossible thing to happen. If we do go in and we put on our Fibonacci's, what you can see here is we are seeing XRP interacting with the golden zone, and if there is any level at all that would force the price back into the triangle, it is the golden zone. And so I'm not going absolutely badonkers here, buying as much as I possibly can, but I am buying a decent amount because this is a breakout, this is a successful back test, and we still do have some solid room to run here on the dailies and on the weeklies. We turn on our Elliot's wave again. If we kind of look at this, I'd actually like to look at it from a 4-hour perspective. You can see what's happening here. We are still in valid structure to possibly make a break towards $3 or $3.75 based on the 5th wave still not being complete. It does seem as if we had our first 4 waves and we've been kind of in some sort of sideways consolidationary 5th wave as of now, but I still do think we could get some sort of extension up towards this Fibonacci extension level right around 1.618, $3.75. And so looking at XRP, it's actually the most bullish crypto that I'm looking at in the top 10 right now, and I do think it very well might have some growth. Now, as I mentioned before, look, the crypto market's in a weird spot. Everything is trading based off Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin dumps, XRP is probably going to dump as well. So again, I'm not loading up right now, but I definitely am doing a little bit of purchasing here because I love the fact that we did get such a healthy breakout. Looking very, very good there. Going on next. Let's look at Pepe. What we can see is that Pepe is creating some sort of more macro descending structure, and you can see that if you start to just kind of look at it from more of this perspective. So what you can see here is that Pepe's price obviously is in this descending structure, and I actually do think that's a good thing. Pepe's price was capable of reaching these Fibonacci extension levels quite recently, as you can see here. We saw Pepe's price push from that previous all-time high from May 2024 all the way down to these lows, and then just full-blown send it, clear the golden zone, clear the previous all-time high, breaking up towards this Fibonacci extension level up here before now starting to cool down a little bit, and cool down it has. We have seen a pretty healthy correction here. This has been a very, very solid pullback that we're seeing from it. We did get that beautiful move, that full-blown A, B, C correction towards the downside, and it does seem as if we are going to try to see Pepe's price try to give us some sort of structural break sometime soon here. There is still obviously the risk that if the market does pull back, maybe Pepe goes for one more nosedive, maybe it visits the bottom of the structure again, and I have every intention that if Pepe at any given point gets anywhere close to the bottom of the structure again, I am going to be doing some buying. I'd missed the bottom of it right here. I did buy a little bit of Pepe there and a little bit of Pepe there, and then a little bit more the other day when the market did pull back a little bit. So I am rather happy with the accumulation that I have done in this descending channel. But again, if I am given the opportunity in which Pepe's price does fall one more time, I will be doing some buying. It feels to me as if at some given point we are going to see Pepe's price try to get some sort of more macro breakout here. Obviously, no one can truly tell how far up that'll go, but maybe we are going to see some sort of more fib extension towards the upside. Who knows? Maybe we see a push towards, that 3-4 level, maybe that 4-2 level or something like that. But obviously, there's going to be a lot of steps in the way. I mean, if we break out, we still got to clear the golden zone. We got to set the new higher high. We still got to do all those things. And so overall, I'm not going to say we're out of the woods yet. We're definitely not. If Pepe's price does lose this support right here, right, we could have the head and shoulders that is formed. That may send us back towards the downside. So I'm not absolutely loading up on Pepe right now, but I have done some pretty sizable purchases, some decent sized purchases over the last couple weeks while it has been forming this descending structure, because again, I do think Pepe is going to have its moment, and I do think we are going to get a good run from meme coins once we do see that liquidity cycle reset a little bit. So overall, have some purchases in right now. And recently, if Pepe's price does fall, I will be doing a good bit of buying. If it pumps, very good. I think we're going to be in a spot to where we may start to try to see a rebound. We have the room here on the dailies, on the 4-hour RSI, On the daily RSI, we have even more room. Let's see what Elliot's waves are showing us. Elliot's waves do imply that we could see one more pull to the downside, so that is something to consider. But overall, we do still already have a lot of room to the top side, so even if we do pull back once, I still think we're going to get that rip upwards, and that would actually complete that more macro pullback, the more macro ABC, which would then again from an Elliot's wave perspective open that door to start that new trend upwards. So yeah, looking very good for Pepe. I think it's in a good spot. Maybe pulls back one more time, maybe gives us one more rip to the downside, but at that point I am going to do some accumulating. We'll do some buying. Now, looking over at ADA, and before we actually get into ADA, I will let you guys know a lot of these purchases that I do, my friends, are available for you over in the school. I do like to post everything that I buy and sell on a daily basis in the school. Sometimes I forget, I'm not going to lie to you, but for the most part, if I head out here, if I go over to Insights with Tyler, what you can see here is I'm posting a lot of the things that I'm buying. Look, let me just scroll down here, and for example, I told them what I did. I told them about a rotation that I made today into, some stocks and stuff like that. For some reason, it's being a little bit laggy, but if I just go up a little bit further, you can see I did a pretty sizable purchase not too long ago, in which I bought some Bitcoin and ETH and Solana, XLM, ADA, and a bunch more. So if you do want to go check out the school, I will leave it linked down below. Guys, our mission at the school is very, very simple. We take crypto investors like yourselves and give you courses, coaching, classes, live streams, workshops, trade signals, research, Q&As, and much more to help you refine your strategies, because strategies are what create gains. And the best part about it is that if you don't learn anything, if you don't find it useful, we'll just give you your money back, and it starts as little as $5 a month. And don't just take it from me, guys. We can go to the community gainer section, and just in the last 24 hours, you can see the hundreds of percentages that have been printed by our community. Again, just in the last 24 hours, and you can see it yourself. These are hundreds of thousands of dollars in gains being printed by this community every single day. There's over 1,000 members in the community now, 1,058 members. So be a part of it today for as little as $5 a month. That's available down there for you below. Now, moving into ADA, what we can see here is that, yes, ADA's actually looking pretty damn good. I'm not going to lie. ADA's done some pretty solid stuff here. What we can see, let me kind of just try to extend this out a little bit, is that ADA did, of course, give us this descending channel, exactly as we talked about. I told you all I would be buying towards the bottom green zone of ADA here, because that's always my strategy. Look for descending channels, buy in the green zone. It's what I do every single time. And what we saw was that worked out, right? We saw all of these green zones accumulate. We saw the breakout from ADA. ADA did run into that golden Fibonacci zone of resistance, as you can see here. here, right? We did struggle with that golden zone, so that is something to consider. But one way or another, it's holding up extremely well. We got a rejection off of that golden zone. It came back for the back test, flipped this little liquidity zone right here into a support zone, and it's currently trying to decide whether or not it's going to make this move upwards. It wouldn't shock me if ADA does give us some sort of little more micro correction downwards, maybe some more consolidation here. I'm not expecting ADA to just absolutely send it through this golden zone, but I do think that one way or another, ADA is going to give us a hell of a try, and I think there is a reasonable, I think it's a reasonable guess to say ADA might try to give us that push back up towards $1.87 or $1.55 over the coming weeks. And so my current strategy actually with ADA is to wait for this golden zone to break. I will do some dollar cost averaging if it ends up below 85 cents again at any given point, but as of now, I don't actually plan on buying any more ADA until it clears this golden zone, because this golden box is going to be what opens that door for a possible move of anywhere, from 30% all the way up to 60%. And I would rather at this point just be buying some more ADA once I have that full confirmation that we're very likely going to go up to these levels, rather than right here, which I'm not sure if we're going to do this, or if we're going to do this, or if we're going to do this, right? I have no idea what's going to happen right here. So I'm either looking for the confirmation of us breaking the golden zone, or I'm looking for us to fall back down one more time for the retest, because one way or another, off of that, or off of that, I think these will be the two signals that'll get us towards up here. So ADA's looking pretty good. From a RSI perspective on the daily, still a ton of room to work with. Looking at the Elliott waves do imply that we could still possibly have some sort of more macro correction to the downside, like it has been with basically every major altcoin except for XRP. So that is something to consider as well. Maybe there is that one more pullback. Maybe we open up a little bit more room of opportunity here on that RSI. So again, that's why I'm not doing any buying right now. But again, if we do break that golden zone, I think it does invalidate that Elliott structure, and it does open up that door to the upside. And so at that point, I would be starting to look for some probably more trade-based purchases, in which I do go in, open up a trade, set my stop losses below liquidity, and just kind of see how it plays out. So ADA's in a great spot, not in a great buying zone for me right now. Again, I'm either looking for that golden zone to break, or I'm going to be looking for sub 85 cent ADA. That's what I'm going to be looking to get in there. Going into the next one, let's look at XLM. Let's actually look at SUI, and then we'll look at XLM. SUI is still in a bit of a sketchy spot for me. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I love SUI to death. Don't get me wrong. It is probably my favorite crypto right now, just because I feel like it's a younger version of Solana, and that comes with more opportunity. But the problem that I'm having with SUI at this given point is quite simply just the fact that we are still in this ascending channel. Ascending channels have a very strong history of breaking to the downside. I mean, we saw that with Bitcoin, right? Where we were in this descending channel, we broke to the downside, causing this little HMZ that we're in right now. And so with SUI, it's like, yeah, I love SUI, don't get me wrong, but I am not even gonna lie to you guys. I have taken some profit off of SUI recently. Funnily enough, I took profit on SUI right around $5.20 ish, right? Like right around here. And then a couple of days ago, I actually took more profit off of SUI at around $5.05 right before we saw both of these pullbacks. And the reason being is because I'm up over 300% on my total SUI bag. And in a situation where I'm up that much, and I am seeing a structure that has a decent sized likelihood of breaking towards the downside, I just have to be realistic and say, look, my strategy is to take profits in situations where I think there's a risk on my profit, and that's what I'm doing. I still do have a ton of conviction that SUI is going to probably see $10, $15 at some point, so that's why I didn't take much profit. It was only like maybe 4 or 5% here and maybe 4 or 5% there, but I did take some of that profit because there is an opportunity that SUI does come back towards, $4 or so before I start trying to find some more upwards momentum. And so because of that, obviously, this isn't a guarantee. Maybe SUI does hold, maybe it goes parabolic, maybe we just absolutely send it up here, or maybe we just go range bound for a very long time until the blow off top of the bull market, and then we capitulate through it. All of those things are possible, but at the end of the day, it doesn't change my opinion. My opinion is that eventually it's more likely that we break to the downside than the upside. Therefore, I will take profits anytime we see SUI anywhere close to 50% or 100% to the top side of this channel here, if that makes sense. And so I love SUI. Don't get me wrong. Very, very bullish about it. It's not something, this doesn't make me bearish. It doesn't make me a bear. Hold your comments. That's not what that means. It just means I'm sticking to my strategy. And that is actually something that I shared over in the school earlier, a couple days ago. So that's where we're at with SUI. Looking at XLM is in a major decision-making point right now from two perspectives. What we can see is that XLM's price is in this descending channel, and you guys know the deal, right? I bought some XLM in the green box here, right here, and now all three of those purchases right here are in the profit. Now, I'm just waiting really to see what XLM does here. Does it break through the descending channel or not? Because quite frankly, it's also going to decide whether or not we break out of the macro golden zone. If I just zoom all the way out, you can see this huge golden zone from the 2021 bull market market high to the 2022 bear market or 2023 bear market low, this golden zone is the door for XLM to be able to go to $1.75 or maybe even as high as $4. And obviously it's very important we break that golden zone. So right now, XLM is deciding whether or not we're going to break this descending channel right now and whether it's going to break that golden zone. And so as a result of that, I'm doing absolutely nothing. If I didn't think that XLM could still 10x from here, I would actually be taking some profit, like a lot of profit off the table. I took a tiny amount of profit off the table off these small purchases that I did in here, just because it is a very good spot to profit take when we're at a major resistance zone like this. But I have left the majority of it, like 90% of my position open, just because I want to see if we can get that rally up, because I genuinely think that XLM could still 10x from here. And so maybe not, maybe not anytime soon, but I do think over time it is possible. So very similarly to SUI, although I am taking profit, I am leaving a lot of that position open because I do still think that a lot of gains will be on the way. So XLM's looking very good to me. From an Elliott wave perspective, let's kind of see if we have anything forming here on the 4 hour. Nothing really forming here on the 4 hour. It does seem as if we may have created and finalized that C wave to the downside quite recently, but we've not still set in that next impulse. And so because of that, just kind of leaving that alone. And again, nothing on the dailies from what I can tell either, which is interesting. So yeah, overall, nothing going on there. RSI looks good. We do have the room to the upside if we do want to go ahead and make that break. We do have some room there on the daily. We also have that room on the 4 hour. So will be interesting. I'm not doing anything at all right now though with XLM. I'm letting it ride. I'm just waiting right now to see what happens and if we're capable of breaking through this zone. Going next. Let's look at HBAR. What we can see is that HBAR has been giving us a couple fake outs. Obviously not something you want to see. It's not something you love to see, but it is a good sign that we are still seeing some strength. HBAR is in a very similar spot from what I've been telling you all. I said, hey, listen, we're in a descending channel. Now you guys know the drill at this point. I buy every time we hit the bottom side of the descending channel. All of those 2 purchases that I did are now both in profit. Similarly to the rest, I did take a little bit of profit off of HBAR here, quite simply just because we're at the top side of that channel and we're struggling. It seems as if we have a macro point of resistance sitting right around 33.5 cents, which does probably align with some sort of Fibonacci zone if I had to guess. Yeah, it's like the midpoint of the Fibonacci zone right now. So we do still have a lot of resistance outside of this descending channel, but it does feel as if this descending channel is going to get a more macro sustainable breakout sometime soon here. So although I'm not in a spot where I'm not buying HBAR right now, I don't see the point in buying HBAR right now considering I was buying down here. It is a spot where I think things are actually heating up. We do have the room here on the RSI. If we do look at our Elliott's waves, we still do have a valid 5th wave that could very well happen once we're finally able to clear that golden box. So I do think HBAR is in a very good spot. Not a terrible time to be doing some accumulating if you want to buy HBAR, but I wouldn't be doing a lot at once. Again, slowly laddering in the lower it goes if it pulls back, just in case we do see it come back towards that 50% threshold or lower. But as I mentioned, I'm personally not buying any HBAR right now just because I'm happy with the purchase that I made down here. Okay. A couple left. Let's look at Shiba Inu and see how this bad boy is doing. So SHIB is looking pretty good, not gonna lie, but obviously it is just struggling a little bit with that golden Fibonacci zone. If I get rid of this and if I get rid of you, what we can see here is that SHIB's price has still been struggling. I mean, it's putting up an absolute fight to try to break through that golden zone. It's really giving it hell, but it's struggling a ton. We had that previous high up here back from March of 2024 all the way to that low of August of 2024, and we're trying to see SHIB's price clear this golden resistance zone. It's just not giving it to us right now. And the problem is that at this point, we do have an ascending level of support. Historically, these do break to the downside. And in addition to that, if we look at our Elliott's waves here, we have now finished that 5th wave upwards. We're probably in B wave right now. And that does mean that a C wave to the downside could be on the way. So SHIB, although it is giving this thing a fight, it's trying very hard. It does feel as if we very well might see SHIB's price give us one more capitulation, one more little nosedive back towards this red zone, possibly, 167, 178, somewhere around here, before trying to make some sort of new wave upwards. And that's not a bad thing, don't get me wrong, because trying to maintain on top of an ascending level of support is extremely difficult. It's going to put a lot of strain on the bullish momentum that we can gather here. I would rather see SHIB's price pull back down here and then try to make some sort of move upwards. So although this isn't a guarantee, I do think this is like a 60-70% chance of happening, and so I am just kind of watching right now. Again, we're in decision-making land right now. I'm not going to pretend to know what's going to happen. This is just an educated guess, but my educated guess is that we're probably going to see some sort of move towards the bottom side of the support level unless something happens. I mean, You gotta admit, we are in a very interesting week here in the week of, in the crypto market right now. The next 8 days with Gary Gensler resigning and Trump coming into office, maybe things do go parabolic. Maybe it does hold, and maybe it uses it to absolutely send it to the upside. So that's why I will say there is still a 30-40% chance that we do hold here, but the bigger odds, the 60-70% odds, are that we pull to the downside. But that's a good thing, because if we do, it does open up the door to the upside wide open. So, not buying SHIB probably. I did do a little bit of purchasing on SHIB yesterday, I believe. If it's still open, I'll keep it there if it's still open. Yeah, I think I did buy a little bit of SHIB a couple days ago whenever we were at these lower levels. That was on the 9th, so it would have been right around here. Yeah, I'm just happy with that purchase there. I'm not really interested in doing a lot of buying right now. I just want to see, do we hold support or not? Can we hold support and break this resistance point right here, or do we lose support and start heading down? Because if we do start to fall, I am going to start to accumulate a good bit of SHIB, expecting us to try to make that move upwards, especially knowing that we then would have completed that C wave towards the downside, looking for the next impulse and next move upwards. So should be pretty interesting there. So overall, guys, those are the majority of the ones we talk here on the channel. I know there may be a couple more that I wasn't able to get to today, but we are pushing right up to 30 minutes right now, and I don't want to talk your guys' heads off. So those are my general thoughts. Yeah, I mean, kind of to recap, it does seem like a lot of cryptos are in an okay place right now, and we can see that. If we go over to CoinGlass, right, and we go to CoinGlass, let's go to RSI index, RSI heat map. You can see here, right, on like the 24-hour, the vast majority of cryptos are now within that neutral or weak zone, meaning that most altcoins are in an okay place to be buying right now. You zoom out to the weeklies, obviously not the best place ever, right? ETH and AVAX, they're still above neutral, but in an okay place. So the way I'm at is like, if you want to be doing some buying on your alts, do a little bit of purchasing, set your stop losses, or be prepared to ladder more in if this market does pull back, because many indicators are saying that some sort of pullback could definitely be on the way. Now, again, we have a crazy week ahead of us. Trump's inauguration, Gary Gensler's stuff going on. I actually posted on Twitter as well. You need to keep an eye on what is going on. Look, let me just refresh, and then let's go down here. You need to keep an eye on what's going on here. That we are going to see coming out the CPI year-over-year data coming in on January 15th, which is Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. And that's obviously going to have an impact on the market as well. So we have a crazy 7 or 8 days coming up. So take TA with a grain of salt right now, but do be aware of what's going on. I think that's it. So again, those are kind of my thoughts. I hope you guys do enjoy it. I know this is a long video, but I wanted to just run you through all the altcoins because I haven't got a chance to recently. So don't forget, if you have enjoyed, you can subscribe to the channel down below to never miss a video. Go follow me over on Twitter at Tyler Crypto Talk, because I do post a bunch of different posts every single day, threads and educational material and much more. Feel free to check out that BTCC link down below if you do want that 10% bonus I told you about. And don't forget to check out our school, which is down below, in which you can sign up for as little as $5 a month and come join over another 1,000 people. So of course, again, I hope you guys did enjoy today's video, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.